Hi, my name is Dario Cabianca, and I'm the author of the book Google Cloud Platform (GCP) Professional Cloud Network Engineer Certification Companion, recently published by Apress. I'm here just to describe my journey as an author and give you a quick overview of what this book is about and going over some of the challenges that my book hopefully addresses and help you prepare to ace the exam. So I started this journey a few years ago. With my former employer, we were required to actually get a number of certifications, and it was a multi-cloud journey. And GCP was one of the three public cloud provider that we were using. So as I was preparing for the professional cloud architect certification, I began actually taking notes, and I shared these notes with some of my peers because they were also preparing for the exam. My peers actually really liked my approach about jotting down drawings of diagrams and architectures, whether it be conceptual, logical, or physical, and how to combine basically the Google Cloud products and services. They really like the visual learning that I share, which is actually important very much to me. I remember when I was a kid in the middle school, my professor did like my diagrams on how to learn, science and technologies. I remember very well. And he told me, actually, this will help you all through life, and back then I didn't really believe what he was talking about, I was just 15 years old. But actually he was right, I had my methodical approach, very structured, very clear, concise, and I like to stick to my plan, most importantly, so I can progress and advance when I prepare for an exam, whether it be a college, whether it be for a professional certification. So I began doing this, and I thought, well, if those notes can be helpful to my peers and my team, maybe I can share them and I can help other engineers worldwide, and writing a book will be a great idea. So I chose the networking because unlike the other certifications, architect, security, DevOps, developer, cloud engineer, networking is all about really network, of course. And nowadays, given the nature of distributed computing, everything is literally distributed. Began in the 90s with Tim Berners-Lee creating the World Wide Web and leveraging the power of the internet. The internet was invented in the 70s by Vint Cerf and Bob Kahn with the TCP/IP protocol. So with the advent of the World Wide Web and the evolution of those technologies, everything is distributed, especially now with the cloud computing, with cloud. And when we talk about networking, we can talk about a simple network, or the network actually can become very, very complex, whether it be local area network or whether it be a virtual network. Sorry, a local area network or a wide area network, or whether it be a physical network or whether it be a virtual network. So networking seems to be the most natural certification for me to actually combine my unique approach about diagrams, visuals, and real examples, and the methodical approach, the table of contents, and so forth. So I literally leverage the exam guide, the official exam guide from Google Cloud on the network engineer certification to put together my table of contents. I would even say that not only the content of my book maps one-to-one with each objective of the official exam guide, but also some topics are even covered more at a higher depth. I thought that, for example, VPC, Virtual Private Cloud, service controls and service perimeter, they deserve not just a few paragraphs, but they deserve whole chapters to actually fully grasp and understand what this concept is all about. And so I chose to actually devote a whole chapter, for example, for this topic, VPC, service controls, service perimeters, with a lot of diagrams, representation of how that actually works. So let me give you another example. A key element of VPCs is actually the VPC, the shared VPC, right? How do you actually separate concerns between developers, engineering teams, and networking team and security team, right? The shared VPC is a very unique model that explains this. So I put together examples of how to actually build your own VPCs, the shared VPC. I have my own personal organization in Google Cloud. I leverage that to actually show you how to create a VPC, and I leverage a lot of diagrams to explain how actually separation of duties is actually performed with that. So I really wanted to actually leverage this approach. So real quick about the book. The first two chapters are very much introduction, how to register for the exam, how to understand the overall network. The real content, the key topics on chapter 3, implementing VPCs. That's where I explain how to create, how to update, how to create VPCs and share VPCs, all the various type of topologies, and routing and firewall rules. And I really stressed out the fact that VPCs are global resources in Google Cloud. Unlike AWS, Azure, VPCs are global resources. They span across multiple regions. Subnets are regional concepts, and firewall rules, they are actually global concepts. They apply at the whole VPC level, just like routing. So I actually reiterate on this concept very much because it's very important you understand that the way it works. Chapter 4 I mentioned is about VPC service perimeter and service control. Chapter 5 is about load balancing. I really spent a lot of time and effort on that because, the Google Cloud infrastructure is state of the art, and they have a highly performant, highly optimized, and highly reliable global backbone throughout the world. Literally, there are submarine cables interconnecting continents, and I wanted to explain how those capabilities enable very powerful load balancing capabilities, and I included a lot of architecture about each of those 9 plus different flavors of load balancer in Google Cloud, in an effort to help you understand how they work and how to answer the question for the exam, and how to pick and choose which load balancer better suits a specific use case. Then, of course, I cover Cloud CDN, Cloud NAT, and of course Cloud DNS with the DNS peering. This DNS peering is a very important topic, and don't get confused between DNS peering and DNS forwarding. There are a lot of infographics explaining the difference between the two. And of course, the remaining 2 chapters are about hybrid connectivity, multi-cloud, and cloud operations. What do you get out of my book? I really want to, reiterate visual learning. I want you to learn how to architect, design, build, and maintain modern network infrastructure for your workloads, leverage Google Cloud. And I do that by breaking down complex concepts and complex scenarios into smaller scenarios, leveraging the infographics and the images that I have in my book. There are more than 300 images that shows you the topologies and how each part of a network works. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So that is my approach. And again, I wanted to mention networking is very important, and especially nowadays with everything being distributed, I thought that a combination of that visual learning with a real-world example, and they are actually example done using the G-Cloud CLI. They are not screenshots of the console. They are real example using G-Cloud. That combination of a real example of the G-Cloud and the visual learning, I hope and I'm confident they will actually help you understand complex concepts and how to break them down in simpler concepts. And not only they will make you successful in the exam, but also they will make you be an effective network engineer with Google Cloud. Thank you very much.